fucking Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. There is nothing sweeter than work getting called off early because it's raining. That's the new cocaine for me. When I see fucking some raindrops on the car window as I'm getting into work, not like 5 or 6 kilometers out, because fucking that's happened too many times. It's been fucking torrential rain, and then I get like 5Ks out and it dries up and I head to work. And I head to work thinking it's going to be a fucking short day, and it doesn't rain all day, and I'm just fucking looking at the sky. Sad and depressed. But today it fucking got called off at 11, which is a stroke of luck because I have a fucking gig tonight, the gig I run, and I can do a little bit of a Boyle Breaks history. Not a full one, but just a little bit of a commentary on the book I'm listening to, my first audio book, Conceived in Liberty by Murray Rothbard. And I'm only up to like the early 1700s, like 1710 or something like that. It keeps cutting back and forward through like this 100 years from like 1606 to like around the 17 something, because there's a lot of shit happening simultaneously. But basically, if you look at that early history of the United States, you're basically looking at a continuous arm wrestle of subjugation and tyrannical rule by fucking different ethnicities, mainly white, mainly English white, to be fair. The fucking rat dog Englishmen subjugating everyone because the Irish, the Catholics, were fucking not welcome. It obviously comes later where the English get a fucking massive beatdown, but at the moment, they're just fucking, it's the worst. But it was early days of the colonies, so what would happen is a religion, it was mainly religious early on. Well, it was also Indian racism and black racism as well. It was basically a fucking bloodbath. Early America, it's still a bloodbath, but fucking Jesus Christ. The atrocities, not just on the Indians and the black slaves, on each other, it's just fucking wild. But at the start, it was basically the Anglicans, and everyone was getting fucking worked by the Anglicans, especially the Catholics. They made everything illegal. Basically, every other religion was made illegal, punishable by virtually death. But because it was such a new colony, you could say, fuck this. Like, Virginia was one of the main places at the beginning, and you could say, fuck this, and then just move like 100 Ks away and start your own new colony. So the Anglicans were fucking subjugating the Catholics and the fucking Puritans and the fucking Quakers and fucking everyone. There were even like this fucking Puritan sect around this lady, Anne Hutchinson. I don't know the exact details, but she sounded sweet. Anyway, the fucking Anglicans would rule tyrannically over the Catholics and everyone else. And then those religions would get pissed and move somewhere else. Like the Puritans ended up in Massachusetts and Boston and shit. And even though they were subjugated by the tyrannical rule of the Anglicans, they ended up being just as bad as the Anglicans in fucking Boston or Massachusetts. They became the tyrants and everyone else became subjugated. And it seemed to like just continuously happen. Even when someone had like the best intentions, like they were like a good person, their heart was in the right place, something they did would turn tyrannical. It would piss someone off. Like there was this guy, Roger Williams, and he was the first guy who was like a massive advocate for religious freedom. You get to fucking practice whatever religion you want to, whether you're a Quaker, Puritan, Anglican, fucking Catholic, Jew. That's the way he said it as well. Jew. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, just whatever you want to do it. And so he wasn't allowed to do that. So he fucked off to a place called Providence, Rhode Island, and he founded that colony. Because you could do that back in the day. When some cunts were pissing you off, you'd be like, laters, and you'd go into like a bush, and that would be a new city. How sick would that be? Fuck, I would have made some colonies. I would have been kicked out of some serious colonies, but I would have made a couple as well. I would have really struggled not to have been hung in early America. I would have had to have become a tyrant just to survive. So many people were hung as well. Not just black people and Indians. Anyway, this Roger Williams guy, he fucking set up Providence, Rhode Island, and was like, yeah, anyone can practice their religions here. And then he got land and parceled it out all evenly. But then new people would move in, and the people who'd got given the land before these new people arrived became like the fucking oligarch of the new fucking system or colony. And then all that turns to shit because these cunts are rebelling. And you're like, fucking Jesus Christ. Can I not do anything right? And it just happens over and over again. Someone gets a good idea, and then people come in and fucking steal it and then crush everyone with it. It happens especially with like entrepreneurs. Like someone will come up with a new invention or a new type of like fabric. There was like drapery that was like lighter or fucking better than the other drapery. And it was unregulated and there were no taxes on it because it was a new thing. And so there was a period where this drapery was like thriving because there was a free market and everyone was trading freely. And then eventually what happens is the government comes in and they're like, this is very dangerous. We need to regulate it. And because we're regulating it, we need to be paid to regulate it. Everyone's like, how about you fuck off, cunts? We don't need your regulation, and we also don't need to give you 40% to come in here and fucking regulate it. And then the government would be like, how about we use our guns to convince you? And then the people would rebel, and then the government would make even more fucking stronger rules and taxations against that thing. And then they monopolize it. They say they make laws that fucking forbid anyone but the people they want making a certain thing from doing it. And then you can only sell it to certain people. And then they just control the whole market. Then people rebel. And they start a new colony and come up with a new idea, and then they become the tyrants, and and the cunts under them fucking come up with a new idea, and then they rebel because it's just a fucking shit show. But definitely at the bottom of the pit was the Indians and the black slaves. I think the black slaves were even below the Indians, to be honest with you. At least some of the time, like with that Roger Williams guy, he had a great relationship with the Indians, and there was like the fur trade between the Indians and some of the whitey settlers, and there was like temporary peace between whiteys and the tribes and all that sort of shit. Obviously, there was some people who were like, let's kill every single Indian there is, but there were also like some people who were like, let's befriend the natives. But for the most part, it seemed like everyone was in total agreement that the blacks were slaves, and that's about it. And I'm listening to this book because it's so intensely thorough. Like, it's insane. I'm up to chapter 24. I've listened to like 6 hours of it, and I'm still up to like 1634. He just mentioned 1634 again. I'm like, Jesus Christ. When is it going to get good for the black people? And I obviously know, like it's 2024, and I wouldn't say it's exactly great for the black people now. So I know the ending to the story. I mean, when was the civil rights movement? Like 1950s, 60s, around then? So that's like another 260 years of just fucking brutality. I don't know if I've got the stomach for it. It's so brutal. He'll occasionally read out like a day from one of the slave owners' diaries, and it's just, oh my God, it's brutal. So basically, the American experiment, I believe, may have been the first time people were actually free, because all European history prior to this and early America was just tyrants and subjugates. I don't even know if that's a word, but fucking, you know what I mean? Fucking slaves and masters. That may not actually be true, to be honest with you, because I don't know how the Indian tribes lived. Maybe they had free societies, well, more or less free societies, and then the Europeans came in and destroyed those free societies and brought in the feudal system, and then fought against the feudal system to become free, which the Indians probably were throughout their entire history. But I know this for sure. Indian tribes were definitely doing the same thing to each other, and Aboriginal tribes were doing the same things to each other. And it seems everyone throughout all of history have done the same thing. They've fought against their oppressor and then eventually become the oppressor. It would be nice to break that cycle at some point, wouldn't it? Who breaks that cycle? I think Nelson Mandela gave it a shot. Anyway, you can tell how much energy I have because I haven't fucking worked today, can't you? It's a whole fucking different ball game when I get a little bit of sleep and a little bit of rest. Anyway, that'll fucking do it today, and I'll see you the fuck later.